You are most welcome back to the Matchbook football podcast, but we are now doing our inaugural midweek special. The new normal 2020 and 2021 is pretty similar. Adrian Clarke, FA Cup last week, made 2 picks on insights, 1 winner. You were pretty much on the ball posing Burnley, but half loss in the Sheff Utd game.
Yeah. I mean, overall, I was quite pleased with it because, it was a low-scoring game as I predicted. MK Dons against Burnley. I had tipped up MK to maybe pull off a shock, but I didn't go in for the full selection. And on the other one, look, Bristol Rovers pushed. I had them at a handicap, and not quite a big enough handicap as it turned out. I had them at plus 3/4 a goal. So yeah, got some money back, but it wasn't a win. So yeah, mixed bag, but overall, yeah, decent.
Mark, good FA Cup weekend. One of the better third round weekends.
Yeah, it was a weird one, wasn't it? I mean, it'll be memorable in terms of what happened this weekend, not just because of certain players who came onto the pitch for 2 minutes at the end of a game and certain big teams getting dumped out, but also obviously what happened on Friday night, where I actually thought the FA Cup programme was going to be completely in doubt, in fairness, with all the issues affecting the Aston Villa-Liverpool game. So, yeah, it was good to get it over and done with, and unsurprising to see QPR dumped out in the third round yet again, despite giving Fulham a good game for their money. So, yeah, it was all right, but my focus was mainly in Europe.
I was so happy for Crawley. I mean, they played so well, and they fully deserved it. I spoke to John Yems on the radio the night before, and he was really humble about it, and I don't think he was expecting anything. But they won without getting a sweat on. I thought it was a shocker from Leeds. Absolutely awful.
Yems is such a wonderful character, isn't he? He's such he epitomises the EFL, doesn't he, Adrian? He's just fantastic.
I love it. Yeah, exactly. Very, very honest. He's as down to earth and as honest as you'll get. And look, he's getting a tune out of Crawley. Well played.
Yeah, absolutely. Stunning win there. And I'll be honest, when I kind of looked at our results, I said, geez, Leeds must have put out a third team or whatever. They didn't. It was great to see it. So we obviously didn't record last week, gentlemen, but the week before, our first recording of 2021, we had a decent enough week. We had 4 winners. We had the unders in Southampton and Liverpool. We had the unders in Tottenham and Leeds. Swindon and Wigan, you had over 2.5 goals there, Adrian, and Mark had AC Milan minus 3/4 a goal against Benevento. We had 2 pushes as well, and this is the push because we took Aston Villa plus a goal against Manchester United, and this is why we sometimes take them, because it's a long season and we got our money back to that late Manchester United goal. And Mark had Elche plus a goal away at Bilbao as well. Bilbao 1-0 win, get our money back. 2 losses with the unders in West Brom and Arsenal. That was never coming in. Arsenal took care of that. And we had Adrian, the unders in Swansea and Watford as well. And Barrow, Exeter, both teams to score. That game was called off, postponed for another day. But look, yeah, that's 4 winners. And 2 losses. So good start for 2021. This week, we're going to look at, first of all, we're going to go back to front. So if you are listening to this podcast on Wednesday and Thursday, if you're not, we are starting with Thursday's game, Arsenal against Crystal Palace. We were doing Manchester City against Brighton, Wolves against Everton, Burnley against Manchester United, and Sheffield United against Newcastle. And I'll start with you first, Adrian. Like I said, we're going to dive straight into Thursday night. First of all, Arsenal against Crystal Palace. Let's take a look at the prices at Matchbook. At the time of recording, you can back the Gunners there at just under 1.58 on the match odds. Crystal Palace 7.0. The draw available 4.2. Palace getting a goal start on the Asian handicap at 1.94. And 2.5 is the total. Adrian, I'll be honest, mate, we kind of gave you a bit of a slag in the prior to 2021, but the new year has been an absolute fresh start for the Gunners. And they're only 6 or 7 points outside of the European places, though. It's amazing what a couple of games made.
Yeah, it's a crazy season, isn't it? I mean, Arsenal, their form was so poor, and they've flicked that switch. The younger players are coming. Emile Smith-Rowe has been breath of fresh air. Lacazette's rejuvenated as a result. Saka's playing great. Granit Xhaka is on top form as well. So yeah, look, loads and loads of positives for Arsenal coming into this game. You know, they made heavy weather of the win against Newcastle, but they were good value for it. Fully deserved. And once they got the A team on towards the end of the game, they looked like they were going to score goals for fun. This game is interesting because in recent years, it's been quite a high-scoring affair. Crystal Palace, I think both teams have scored in the last 6 meetings. And Palace have got the kind of team that will cause Arsenal problems. You know, I'm thinking about Zaha, particularly if he plays up front at the moment. Holding and Marie probably going to hang on to their positions as centre half. Not the quickest, playing very well at the moment, but not the quickest. So there's a little bit of vulnerability there. Eze is a player that I like. Obviously, Mark will know him very well from his hoops days. But these kind of players are the sort that Arsenal have struggled with in recent times. So I give Palace a chance of scoring a goal here. Newcastle should have scored twice, shouldn't they? Andy Carroll let Arsenal off the hook in that cup tie with a couple of bad misses. So they can make it interesting. But Arsenal, if they play with the intensity that they have been with Smith Rowe and Saka and Lacazette and Aubameyang scoring the other night, then they can certainly score more than once against the Crystal Palace team that just can't settle on the defence. I looked at it. I did a piece on Palace ahead of this game, looking at team selections. The fullbacks have basically there's 4 fullbacks, 2 on either side. They've had an even split this season. The centre halves, I don't think they had a centre half that's played more than 8 or 9 games, chopping and changing. And for me, that's not helpful. So yeah, I think it'd be a good game. And I would expect Arsenal to win, but they're too short, I think, at that price. So I'd probably be looking at a goals angle for me. Both teams to score would definitely appeal to me in this game, plus the overs, over 2.5 at 1.934, I think it was on the screen. So, yeah, it should be a decent game on Thursday night.
I'm chatting away. I mute myself, guys. That will happen every now and again. Chatting away there. What are you going to do? I made some very valid points. But yeah, obviously, look, over 2.5 currently available, just under 1.93. And Wilfried Zaha was talking during the week, Adrian, as well. A bit of a chip on his shoulder about, Arsenal signing Pepe over him. And Pepe's not been great,
No, I think most Arsenal fans would definitely prefer to have had Zaha than Pepe.
Yeah.
Well, Pepe, he gets his shots away. He skips past defenders. There's a player in there, but he is frustrating. Incidentally, the last 2 games here at Emirates have been really entertaining. There was a 2-2 draw and a 3-2 win for Palace as well, chucked in there. So look, it's a stadium that they kind of run free in. They let the shackles off. We know Hodgson's quite a boring manager, but against Arsenal for some reason, they seem to go for it a little bit more.
Mark, it's a pretty low goal line at 2.5. What are you making of this one? What are you making of what Adrian's thoughts were there from straight off the bat?
Yeah, really interesting. So I did find this quite a tricky one to kind of unpack. I do think, it's easy saying it now, but I don't think Arsenal were quite as bad as they were probably made out to be during the poor run. But I also don't think they're quite as good as potentially the results have shown recently. So I don't think the complexion has completely changed. So obviously in a much better mental place than they were a couple of weeks ago. But certainly if you look at those games individually, the Chelsea game, you could probably put Chelsea's lack of performance down to a lot of that, even though Arsenal were very good. The Brighton game took them quite a while to get going. I thought they were pretty bang average in the first half. And against West Brom, well, it's West Brom, isn't it? A few teams have put on a similar show against them recently too. So at the Emirates, their complete performances haven't completely convinced this season. And they have had, as Adrian mentioned, a couple of problems with Palace in recent seasons. I think it's 4 without a win against Palace now, 2 of which are at the Emirates as well. So I looked at last year. They were 1.48 when they hosted Palace. So they're at 1.57 now. So if you kind of lose a little bit for home advantage without supporters, it's probably about the same price, really, which feels a little bit short to me. Certainly their record at the Emirates under Arteta is just 4 wins from 18 by 2 or more goals. And they only kept clean sheets in 4 of those 18 games as well, which kind of pushes towards what Adrian was saying about a goal-heavy game. Interestingly as well, in those 14 games where they did concede, they've only won by 2 or more goals on 2 occasions. So, they're without a clean sheet in 11 Premier League games at the Emirates now as well. So, yeah, I do expect Palace to cause some problems. And if they do score, I think the handicap does look quite hefty from an Arsenal perspective. So I started looking towards trying to get Palace on side with a goal and a quarter. It's quite tight though, 1.7-ish. So again, just not really anything there for me. And I think team selection is going to be quite interesting for this because Palace, to me, look like a team who are kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place in what they want to be. The sort of transition towards a more attacking side, more attacking 11 with Eze coming into that team hasn't worked completely, particularly from a defensive aspect. Obviously, he's let let Zaha off the leash a bit more, but been a bit more entertaining. But he sort of switched up a little bit in that game against Leicester recently, where I think I can't remember what the result was. They were quite fortunate, I think, to draw it. But anyway,
it's a weakened Leicester side, wasn't it?
Yeah. And he took Eze out. I think Schlupp played on the left. I wouldn't be too surprised if he did something similar at the Emirates as well. Just kind of tried to batten down the hatches a little bit and just try and steady things up. But at the same point, you can't really trust a team who's kept one clean sheet since the opening day, and that came against Sheff Utd too. So yeah, just whilst talking, I hadn't noted down the price, but I was just trying to find out what the price was. So both teams to score is close to around 1.9 or bigger if you look around. So if you can get that kind of price, depending on the team news come kickoff, then that's certainly an angle I'd be keen on. I know Cahill and Dan could be back fit for them, but they haven't played enough, as Adrian says. The centre backs have been in and out of the team through illness and injury and suspension all season. So it's hard to sort of put your house on Palace keeping a clean sheet here. So yeah, both teams to score would probably be my angle now, whereas I came into this trying to get Palace on side in the handicaps.
Yeah, it might be a better one there, Adrian. Obviously, it's a very similar price to over 2.5, but you hit it on it as well. So,
well, I've got the two down. I just didn't have a price for both teams to score. To be honest, I think both teams to score is maybe more likely than over 2.5. But they're very similar, aren't they? So, but no, I'm happy to go along with that recommendation.
All right, let's move on. Manchester City against Brighton, Hove Albion. This is a Wednesday night kickoff standalone fixture. Sorry, we've got Tottenham now on Wednesday night. All these fixtures are starting to be changed around, but we're getting used to that as we move on. Let's take a look at the betting at the time of recording. You can back Manchester City there, no surprise, at 1.19, just under. So that's under 1 to 5 in fractional terms. You can back Brighton and Hove Albion at 18.0, the draw at 8.4, a full 2-goal start on the Asian handicap, as you can see there. Brighton getting the start, of course, just over 1.96, and the total is a large enough one at 3.25, slightly shaded towards the unders. And Mark, I won't say that we were writing off Manchester City a couple of weeks ago, because we didn't, because we know this is going to be a crazy season anyway. But they did touch odds against and good odds against the Premier League outright market. They're now back to 1.87 at Matchbook. They've won their last 3 Premier League games, unbeaten in 7, and it's hard not to be impressed with them right now. Even that win against Manchester United at Old Trafford during the week, they look rejuvenated outfit again.
Yeah, it's strange. I'm not really sure what's changed really, but suddenly they're playing with purpose and intent. I think we saw that at Stamford Bridge, where they took Chelsea apart really after kind of an unsteady first 15 minutes or so. Really, really impressive, and it kind of doesn't help our job really when we have to preview these matches in sort of lopsided betting heats, because it's very hard to find an angle you really want to hang your hat on. But City too tend to enjoy themselves against Brighton, particularly under Potter as well. I think we've talked many times about how Brighton tend to change their tact when they come up against the big boys, and more often than not they get punished for it. Certainly City have done that in the last season or two, but even going back further, I think they've won the last 6 Premier League games by an aggregate of 20-2 against Brighton, 4-0 and 5-0 last season. So you can kind of understand where the handicap is at, and it's kind of put me off really. What my original angle in was Brighton plus 2.25. That's already dropped to about 1.7 anyway, so too short really to support. I just like kind of opposing a big handicap like that, and I don't think Brighton are quite as bad as the odds probably suggest, but City, if they are in the mood, you don't really want to be posing them in any way. So I've kind of stumbled around and kind of fallen on City to win to 0 at around 1.83, 1.85. They've conceded just 7 goals in 13 Premier League games since they lost 5-2 against Leicester in September. 4 fewer than any other in the division. Across all competitions, unbeaten in 13, as you say, only conceding 3 goals. They won 6 on the bounce, 4 of which were to 0. 11 of their last 13 wins came alongside clean sheets as well. And the partnership of Diaz and Stones just keeps improving. Walker's fit. Cancelo's been excellent on the other side as well. They've got that strong base back, which wasn't always the case this season. Brighton, we know they're easy on the eye. We know they create, but they just haven't got that clinical edge. They've won just 1 of the last 15, I think it is now, winless in 8. They've lost 12 of 17 against top 6 finishers under Potter as well. So I find it hard to see Brighton getting anything out of this game. And I guess where I'd stumble across is just City to win to 0. I don't really like backing it at an odds-on price, but the handicaps just aren't really for me.
What's the rough guide price on that? I know we'll have it up closer to kick-off mark, but is there a rough kind of tissue price out there at the moment for that?
Yeah, 183 I think is kind
okay.
of whereabouts the market is at.
And Adrian, Mark touched on it there, and watching that Manchester United game the last night, especially with Diaz, I was kind of thinking to myself, what would Manchester United do for someone like him in central defence? And I would say they would absolutely crawl over hot coals to get him. And like ordinarily, when City been missing Laporte in the last couple of years, you kind of knew that would be an issue, but it doesn't seem to be an issue right now. And there definitely seems to be a massive improvement, especially at the back with City.
Definitely, yeah. It's we can all see it for ourselves. Diaz is a bargain. I mean, he cost an absolute fortune, but he looks a bargain, and he's bringing the best out of Stones, who's stopped making those mistakes that have kind of been associated with him since he's been a City player. So yeah, no, it's a good partnership. City have got back to sort of dominating the ball and defending with the ball. Really, I mean, they've got so much of it that other teams are having very limited opportunities to go and hurt them as well. And they've protected their goalkeeper, who's come in, the number 2 for Edison, and he's looked okay actually, hasn't he? He's not really been a weakness. So lots and lots of pluses. As Mark rightly points out, they like playing Brighton, and their record against sides in the bottom half this season at home: 5 games, Manchester City, 1 goal conceded. So I think Mark has hit on the right call here. City to win to 0 absolutely makes sense on a lot of levels. I think they'll win handsomely. I think they'll probably overcome that 2-goal handicap. I see this as a 3 or 4-0 win for Manchester City. They're just hitting the groove. At the moment, it doesn't matter what forward line he plays. Doesn't need a centre forward. You've got these floating nines. Foden's had a go. Mahrez has had a go. De Bruyne has had a go. Jesus is sometimes coming on off the left. It's all very fluid, but it's impressive. And Kevin De Bruyne, we know, is in scintillating form as well. So yeah, lots to like about City. I've seen a bit of Brighton lately, and they haven't impressed me at all. They're not playing well, and they are starting to give up more chances than they did earlier on in the season, when I think they were quite unlucky. But that hard luck story has kind of run out a little bit for Potter now. For me, he's got into a bit of a pickle. He doesn't know his best team, and I can see them being, the kind of prey that City will feast on this week. So yeah, City with a handicap, I think, will come in, but I like Mark's pick better. City to win to 0.
Yep, no, it looks a good show to me. Yeah, absolutely. And no Sergio Aguero this week, actually. That's just a bit of breaking news in the last 24 hours. He's self-isolating due to a close contact case in regards to COVID. Just before we get into Tuesday night's games, guys, just want to bring the attention to those who maybe do not know, but Matchbook, we have a brand new sign-up offer. If you have not got a Matchbook account and you want one, sign up today. Bet 10 and get 10. So you bet 10 on your first bet at odds of 2.0, which is even money or more, and your next bet thereafter will be £10 as well. It's 18s only. Please gamble responsibly at all time. All right, let's move on, gentlemen. We're going to go into Tuesday's games first. So I'm going to start with the later kickoff here, which is Wolves against Everton. Adrian, I'll come to you first for this, but let's first of all take a look at the betting at the time of recording at Matchbook. You can back Wolves at home, Molyneux 2.57, Everton 3.2, the draw available 3.26. Everton, as you can see, they're getting a quarter of a goal start on the Asian handicap at 5-6 or 1.83, and the total is a pretty low one, but that's Molyneux, that's Wolves at home, and it's always been the same for the last 2 years from what I can remember. Adrian, what do you make of this one, mate? Like Wolves, it's not been a great season. I mean, I was looking at stats more. They head into the midway point of the Premier League season, accumulated fewer points after 17 matches in their previous 2 seasons, and that kind of tells its own story. They're lying in 13th in the table, and it hasn't been great. It's been tough sledding for them.
Yeah, it has been. It's been tough. Obviously, they lost Raul Jimenez. I think that was a real blow for them. On that low goals market, it's not just Wolves the reason that's low. Everton, 6 of the last 7 games, been under 2.5 goals. So they've not been involved in many thrillers themselves. So that makes sense, even though it doesn't really appeal to me to go down that route. Now, what I'll say about Wolves, even though they're missing Jimenez, even though it's been a fairly flat campaign for them so far, and they've lost no wins in the last 4, I think they're playing all right. I think obviously they won in the FA Cup against Crystal Palace, where they won handily. I mean, that was easy for them. Absolutely.
What happened to Brighton? So Adrian 3-1 up against Brighton.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The sort of, I don't know what it is about them. They're making more mistakes than they used to. That is for sure. But I think in general they're not playing as badly as the results would suggest. And Traore scoring the other night will lift him. And I think if Traore is in a confident mood, then Wolves are a better side. I mean, I can't for the life of me understand why he's been on the bench so often this season. I mean, he was absolute dynamite, wasn't he, last year? I certainly wouldn't have wanted to mark him. I'm thinking about that matchup as well. If he plays on the right, Luca Digne came back for the cup game, had a bit of a nightmare defensively, struggled. And Ben Godfrey is the other option there. He's a centre-half. I fancy Traore to get the better of him there. So that's a little duel to look out for in this game. With Everton, Rodriguez coming back, I've done a piece on Everton as well. The stats are frightening in terms of when he plays, they create big chances for fun. When he doesn't play, the chance creation goes down a lot. And Richarlison and Calvert-Lewin's stats are impacted hugely when Rodriguez isn't around. Now I'm hearing that Calvert-Lewin is either out or he's a big doubt for this. There's no guarantee Richarlison will play. And I think if one of those guys is missing, then it massively turns me towards Wolves at 2.57. I think it was you had there. I think it's a reasonable price for them at home. Given that Neto's playing well, I think in general at Manchester United, for example, I thought they played well against Crystal Palace in the FA Cup. They played pretty well. So for me, Wolves can beat Everton in this game. I think Everton are just going through a slightly flat period. I can't remember the last time they put together a really exciting performance, and I don't see them finding one at Molineux. I think they might find it tough going to break down the Wolves. So for me, Wolves will probably win a low-scoring game.
Yeah, Everton have been quite good on the road this season. But Mark, I know talking pre-recording, Mark, that and Adrian touched on there's a couple of doubts for Everton. You probably wanted to be with them, but having heard that latest breaking news, you slightly went a bit cold on the Toffees.
Yeah, Calvert-Lewin, I think, is definitely missing, and Richarlison's taking a late fitness test as well. So, yeah, it's a bit of annoying, really, because I wanted to oppose Wolves. Jimenez being out is a blow, but I know they've recalled Patrick Cutrone and Morgan Gibbs-White from loan spells to give them an extra thrust in attack. But I think they're having issues creating as well as converting, particularly from open play. And I know in the last, 7 or so fixtures since Jimenez has been missing, they're averaging around a 0.94 XG output, and they've had a few tough games in that sort of fixture schedule, but it's still not ideal. And I think more worryingly for me, really, is they're not keeping clean sheets either. I think it's 10 Premier League games without one, and they're conceding the first goal in 9 of those matches too. So the kind of bounce back ability, which we, I guess, associated with Wolves conceding early, or the second half performances over the past sort of 12, 24 months, hasn't quite been as prominent this time around. I agree with Traore, needs to play more. Certainly that goal should help, and I think a confident Traore will help them for sure. But I just think they're a different team without Jimenez as the focal point. And I think fullbacks as well. It's been a downgrade. I know injuries haven't helped there either, but I don't know. I looked at Everton, and they've been pretty miserly, haven't they, since the sort of system change and injuries have affected them, and Ancelotti's kind of battened down the hatches after that sloppy defensive run. But defensively, they have improved. They are picking up points, and I just think they're probably a better rounded fit than Wolves right now. Obviously, that doesn't help for the fact that these injuries have come into play. Their away form has been good as well. But I was just doing a bit of research into Wolves, actually, because I noticed this last season and brought it up. But they've only won twice since the start of November, but they've only won once in 9 against the top half this season. Last season, they won 6 games of 28 in the Premier League against teams outside the bottom 5. And only 3 of those came at Molineux, 3 of 15 wins at home against teams outside the bottom 5. So that kind of trend is carrying on this time around. But as I say, the Everton team has kind of chucked everything up in the air for me. So just while we're recording, I was having a look through the total goals lines. Under 2.25, 1.78 isn't too bad, I don't think. If if neither Calvert-Lewin or Richarlison plays either, we know Everton's solid defensively. Wolves usually are as well, despite that lack of clean sheets recently. Just not sure they're doing enough in the final third to warrant a win myself, but I take Adrian's views.
Wow. Yeah, you can get Wolves draw no bet is an option, obviously. I think 1.735 last time I looked at that. So, if you think
that's fair enough.
It could be a draw. Yeah. But yeah.
What about that angle, Adrian? So under 2.25. So there's half your bet on 2.0 on the under and half on 2.5. So, if it lands even on 2, we make money.
Quite possibly, yeah. I mean, neither team are scoring goals at the moment, are they? Not flush with goals. Yeah, it's just Everton are not convincing me at the moment. I think they're gonna find this game tough going without their talisman. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. There's no one strong bet.
Yeah,
the ones I've suggested are fine, and I think that shout is a decent one too.
Yeah, we might just put in the under 2.25 just for a bit of record keeping. I take your point. I take your point with Wolves, of course, and it's a bit trendish, but Wolves have only led at half time in one Premier League home fixture. I mean, it just seemed to be getting off a real slow start. So it might be a first half angle as well to be looking at there as well. Scoreless half time. Yeah, that'd be pretty short though, very short. All right, guys, let's move on. Want to talk about Burnley against Manchester United next. Bit of a local enough-ish kind of fixture. Current betting at the time of recording, you can back the Clarets are 7.8. Manchester United at just under 1.47. The draws at 5.0. Burnley getting 1.25 goal start on the Asian handicap, just under 1.89. And 2.75 is the total. Mark O'Haire, Manchester United, go top of the table, even with a point here. They're incredibly short. But Mark, look, I mean, we've said it on a few shows, that away form for the Red Devils, it's something to very much take notice of. I mean, I think they're averaging 3 goals as well away from home, which is crazy.
Yeah, it's really, really impressive, and it kind of makes a mockery of everything I know I've said really about them this season. But I don't know. I found this game really tricky because everything to me is screaming at oppose United and oppose them handicaps because it's just too short. But Burnley, their record against the big teams at Turf Moor, home or away, is poor. So I'm kind of caught again. But I don't know. United were 1.91 to win this game last December. They're almost half that price now. I know they continue to sort of defy the critics. They lead all the form tables, no matter what kind of stretch you want to look back to. I think even the last 12 games, they're still top of the form table. They've only dropped 4 points from the last 30, unbeaten in 10, winning 8. They're, as you say, their away record, unbeaten, 6 wins from 7, averaging 3 goals per game. It's really, really hard to oppose them. And they've got a decent record at Turf Moor too. And as I say, Burnley's record, I think it's 20 defeats in 26 at home to top 6 finishers. 12 of those defeats by 2 goals or more. They've actually failed to score in 13 of those 26 games as well. We know their fixtures are rarely high scoring, and that's always been the case as well against the big teams too. But obviously United's trends kind of fly in the face of that. They've featured over 3.5 goals and both teams scoring in all 7 away. 4.57 goals per game average. It's kind of crazy figures really. But I do think Burnley, despite what happened at the weekend, are starting to kind of get back to what we know, really. They've collected as many points as Spurs over the last 9 Premier League match days, which is quite surprising. And they've restricted their opponents to no more than 1 goal in 9 of those 10 games. City being the outlier, and City always thrash Burnley, so it wasn't a huge surprise there. So, I think the way I kind of ended up here was thinking, well, Burnley are probably, I think they've got pretty much a full strength squad available, players coming back from injury. Burnley are pretty much where we expect them to be. They're kind of showing the same sort of performance levels, the same sort of approach. Nothing's really changed from Burnley. So how much has changed from United? Is it enough to kind of see that price half in the space of 12 months? Well, Bruno Fernandes has made a huge difference, and certainly a few players has also chipped in, and United have certainly improved from a mental aspect. But going back to that price, Burnley, only Liverpool and City since October 2018 have been shorter than United are this midweek, and I'm just not sure United are quite on that level, quite justifiable of that price. So I've begrudgingly taken Burnley plus a goal and a quarter, which is reduced in price from I think 1.9 to 1.84 or 1.88 now.
Yeah.
So they're probably going to lose. The stats are pretty significant against them, but it wouldn't be a show, would it, if I'm not opposing United.
Mark, yeah. I'm gonna make you feel better about that call now, because that's what I've got down here, and I've got some stats to back it up. So
brilliant.
Well, I've looked into Burnley and their record at home in the last year. Okay, and in 16 home games, they have only lost by more than one once in a year, in 16 at home, and that was to Chelsea, who always thrash Burnley at Turf Moor. The last team before Chelsea to beat them by more than one goal was Manchester United in this fixture, which was last December, late December, just before Bruno Fernandes arrived. So look, they're not a team that gets spanked at home very often, and they are playing better now than at many stages, I think, in the year just passed. I know they struggled at the weekend. It wasn't brilliant, but they do stay in games. So for me, even though United, like you say, will probably win with Rashford, playing ever so well, Fernandes too, I don't see this being a runaway for United. And I've looked at their wins on the road, and obviously they're all high scoring games, but only 3 of those 7 wins were by more than a goal as well. So they've been winning thrillers by 1. More often than not. So I think there are a lot of indicators that can say that Burnley plus 1.25 is sane, even though we're not crazy mad about it.
The only other thing I think, which is kind of unquantifiable really, but is the fact that Liverpool play United at the weekend as well. And I know this is Tuesday night and they'll get a rest period, etc. But there's clearly that's going to be in the back of their minds in the second half of the hour ahead. So
it has to be, absolutely. I'm old enough to remember when we were accused of being an anti-Leicester City podcast. I'm thinking that we may start getting this tag shortly for Manchester United. But Mark, quickly on that, I mean, look, there's no getting away from it. And I know it was the Carabao Cup last weekend, right? But when you see a very good Manchester City team against that Manchester United team, and the defence again, it's the defence. We suspect that this house of cards may come falling down the next couple of weeks here with Manchester United, and they may just start plummeting down towards 3rd, 4th, and 5th.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to call them lucky because I think Solskjaer's a lucky coach. I've said that before, but I don't want to call all their performances lucky. But I think they have had the rub of the green in some of these matches. And yeah, I mean, kind of go back to the price really. 1.91 to sub 1.5 in the space of 12 months in the same sort of sphere of a game. I know there's no crowd at Turf Moor. I know that makes a difference, but there's a
guaranteed penalty every game, though, Mark. You have to factor that in.
Exactly. If you look at the underlying data as well, the underlying process, you exclude set pieces, for example, as well, where United are pretty strong. It also takes into account penalties, etc. Just from open play, they're a top 6 team. They're not a champion team at all. They're still falling well below the standards that you'd require to win the league. So, yeah, it wouldn't be a huge surprise to see them trip up at some point in the future. Whether it's going to be this midweek or not, I'm not sure. But thankfully, with the plus 1.25 on our side, we still make money if they win by exactly 1 goal. So, I think it's fair enough. I'm glad that Adrian's found the validation in the selection as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, just for Manchester United fans out there, we're not saying that they're a bad team, but we're probably just saying that they're not an elite team. There's a very big difference there. Okay, let's move on. Last game. Adrian Clarke will come to you here first for this, mate. And all of a sudden, this is quite an interesting game. Given that Schalke won at the weekend, Sheffield United are now the only team in the top 5 leagues in Europe who have not won a game this season. Sheffield United currently available. You see, I can't get over this price. We talked about this pre-recording, and I'll be honest, and I know Newcastle are no great shakes, but Sheffield United are favourites here at just over 6-4 in fractional terms at 2.53, 3.22. You can back to an Army to draw available at 3.22. Newcastle getting a quarter of a goal start in the Asian handicap at 1.82 on the goal line. Not to be surprising, it's not surprising here at all, is 2 flat 2 slightly tilted towards the over. Right, Adrian, take it away. Is this the game? And you know that they've targeted this game even with their lineup in the FA Cup at the weekend. But is this the game that the Blades finally get off the mark?
It's got to be the game, right? It has to be. I mean, if they can't win this one, then they might never win ever again. I mean, this is a great opportunity. Look, Wilder surprised me with his team selection at Bristol Rovers. He went really strong, and I think he went strong to get confidence. And it was I know they were playing Bristol Rovers. It's a different level, but they did create a lot of chances, and they should have scored a lot more goals than the 3 they got. And I think that they can carry that momentum with them into this game. I really do. Newcastle, I watched the game against Arsenal. Andy Carroll should have scored a couple of goals, but they did. Other than that, offered nothing really. Newcastle, I bang average side really in Premier League terms. I know that Callum Wilson was rested, and that's a big thing. And he's been head and shoulders their most dangerous player this season. But yeah, no, I just saw more in Sheffield United in the win at Bristol to suggest that they might be able to find their groove in this game. So look, it is a difficult game. The price is shorter than you'd want it to be for a Sheffield United team that just haven't been able to win. But how often have we said it? Chris Wilder had to wait so long, didn't he, for his 100th win as Sheffield United boss? How often do we see it? You wait that long time, and then a second one comes along on the back of it. I'm going to stick my neck on the line and back them on the nose here, Sheffield United, to finally end their hoodoo this season.
Yeah, and Mark, I suppose we could look at the betting markets have to make someone a favourite. They're probably making the Sheffield United just need it more. They are at home. There's obviously a way less of a home advantage now with Bramall Lane. But that price, am I wrong in thinking it's just a bit too short? If you got 2.8, 2.9, it might be more of a play. But is it too short, Mark?
I think it's probably about right. I mean, Adrian's kind of convincing me that Sheff United are a bet here, and I really want them to win, and I really don't want to miss out if they do win, because I think we've been on the Sheff United bus a few times now and have been disappointed by them. So it feels wrong not to be kind of behind them. And look, they're still grafting for Chris Wilder, that's clear. They've just been quite poor in both boxes, kind of impotent in attack and porous defensively, still without that clean sheet in the league. Still got a few COVID-related issues as well, I think, to sort out. I think Baldock and Stevens are to be assessed still. So you'd want those to be playing. But I think Adrian's bang on in terms of the significance of that Bristol Rovers win. It's just about breeding that winning mentality again. So, yeah, they'll be targeting this game, just like Newcastle will be. But they're nowhere near as bad as that points tally suggests. We've said that numerous times now. Yeah. And in fact, my expected points table has them level on points with Newcastle with 16. So, and again, these two are ranked almost equal in terms of XG ratio, XG open play, shots in the box, and all those kind of data and statistics I look towards. So, yeah, I think the prices are probably about fair when you take into account a lack of fans. I just find Newcastle is such a bemusing team because they continue to punch above their process for so long. Just seem to be able to scrape results out and points when required, really. So I do always get a bit itchy about opposing them in these kind of matches. But I did look towards under 2 goals, and I know it's a really, really low goal line, but the significance of this game from both teams, whether it might be quite cagey, I'm not sure. Maybe Sheffield United will come out all guns blazing. We'll have to wait and see. But it's even money. Just one of Newcastle's away days have featured 3 or more goals. 6 of Sheffield United's 8 at Bramall Lane have featured 2 goals or fewer. Go back to the beginning of last season, 70% of their home games have featured fewer than 3 goals. Exclude the big 6 on Leicester this season, and 10 of their 11 games have featured unders, including all 5 at Bramall Lane as well. So I don't think this is going to be a thriller. It's going to be, it's a massive game for both teams, really. So, I don't know. I think even money under 2 goals is probably fair enough. You're probably going to get a push there, though. So, I'll back the Blades as well.
Come on, the Blades.
Yeah, let's do it. Look, you didn't make a case.
I bet there's 1.8. I think that's where you want to go. But at the moment, the 0 handicap is 174. So
I was looking at that, and it just seems a lot to go down for that mark, isn't it? Even when you can get to 2.5 clean on a match odds. Let's take the Blades.
We're not backing Sheff United the week, but they do win because they're going to win. They will win.
Yeah,
it's going to happen.
Yeah, agreed. And look, Newcastle United might be just a good opportunity there, as Adrian said. What did you quote them as, Adrian?
Bang average.
Bang average. Yeah, bang average.
I love it when Adrian gets explicit about teams like that.
he doesn't hold back. He doesn't hold back. I love that. Speaking of which, Adrian Clarke, it's kind of slim pickings EFL wise this week, but you found one selection in League Two.
Yeah, found one. League Two. It's Salford who come into this one actually on the back of 2 defeats, but that's a reason, in my view, to sort of maybe get behind them. They're away at Scunthorpe. Scunthorpe have conceded in their last 7 league games. They very, very rarely keep a clean sheet. Really inconsistent. They conceded 17 in 10 home games. Salford have conceded 17 in the whole season. Just as it puts it into perspective. And when I look at the talent that they've got at Salford under Richie Willems, who, I like him. I think he's a good manager. Then I think, I would back them to win this game. You know, the forward players, you've got Hunter, Thomas Asante, you've got Wilson in behind Ian Henderson, who scores tons of goals at this level. They've had a little dip, and I'm expecting a reaction against a wildly inconsistent Scunthorpe team. And one of the reasons that I've picked this out is the odds 2.27. I think for Salford are a considerably better team, take my word for it, than Scunthorpe. So I think that's a decent price in a match where there'll be no fans. So it's effectively neutral territory.
Yeah, 2.27. You can back Salford currently at Matchbook. Just want to do a very quick recap, gentlemen, just before we get the best bets and wrap up. So we're going to take, for Arsenal Palace, we're going to take BTTS, yes, at 1.9. Man City to win to 0, which is roughly about 1.83. Guide price, that probably will be a tad bigger at Matchbook. Wolves, Everton. We're going to take under 2.25 at 1.78. I like that very much. Burnley plus 1.25. Why not? Oppose Manchester United again at 1.89. And the most controversial pick, of course, Sheffield United at 2.53 and Salford City at 2.27, which brings me to midweek best bets. I presume you're obviously going to take one from each of that. Mark O'Haire, first of all, what's your top selection from there, man?
I'll take City to win to 0. Not very exciting, is it? But they're in a bit of a groove at the moment, so I can't see Brighton stopping them the way they're playing right now.
I'll be very excited, mate, if they win to 0. I won't be worried about that. Adrian Clarke.
I'll give you another reason to be excited. That's the best bet. That is the best bet, I think, of all the ones that we've selected. I just can't see.
Tag team. Okay.
I can't see Brighton scoring at the Etihad, and I can see Manchester City racking up at least 2, probably more in the game. So I think that's the best of the ones we've discussed today.
Yeah, go to Portugal for your value. Ruben Diaz and Bruno Fernandes at Manchester United. Same thing, like just serious value for serious talent. All right, gentlemen. I don't think you've ever done the tag team for the best bets. I like that. Okay. Really wants me to make me back. Okay, guys. We will be back again Thursday morning. Obviously, the big one this weekend: Liverpool and Manchester United. Top of the table potentially at stake there. We'll be previewing that and a couple of more games, and we'll be back again Thursday morning. Best of luck with your midweek best bets. Enjoy doing that, or our inaugural midweek football special. We'll be back, as I said, on Thursday. Best luck with your bets. We'll talk to you then. Take care.